Jim Fitzpatrick, Bridget Fitzpatrick, Dave Anderson, Dave Canton, Colin Carasquillo, Jonathan Dawson, Steve Greenfield, Adam Marburger, Jennifer Suzuki. The strongest team in retail automotive. CBT News, dealers' #1 source for news, content, and analysis.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me on another edition of CBT Now, exclusively right here at the CBT Automotive Network. On today's show, we are joined by father and son duo Ray and Zach Shefska of CarEdge, a platform focused on bringing more transparency to the car buying process for consumers. We'll hear how they got started and their business and how it's grown, and talk a little bit about what everything in between, but also take some of the, hear some of the challenges that dealers are facing out there with online selling and taking the sales process online for consumers. So Zach and Ray, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join me on the show. This is going to be a real treat because I will tell you, as I was talking to you, Ray, before we got started, I got started in the business around the same time you did. So I think we can share a lot of stories about the way vehicles were sold back in the late 70s and early 80s and through the 90s. It's a little different today, isn't it? Isn't it, Ray, than the way we were selling cars?
A wee little bit.
A little bit. That's right. That's right. We didn't have a great platform like you guys are on and YouTube then. So it was every consumer was so nervous coming in. The only thing that they had, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, was they would hold on to their Consumer Reports magazine, hoping that would get them through the process, right? So they could be somewhat of an educated consumer.
I can honestly say, Jim, I don't recall ever seeing an educated consumer back in the late 70s. They had, the beauty of it when I started was they had no idea what the process was, and well, neither did I.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I think you said you were selling Dodges and Subarus before we got started. And who would have known that Dodge would be, kind of a troubled brand today, although it's a great brand, but it's there with Stellantis, it's a little bit trouble. And of course, Subaru is knocking the cover off the ball, right?
They seem to be doing a good job. It's probably one of the largest car companies headquartered in Camden, New Jersey, if not the only one.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. There you go. So let's get started here, and because I want to know all about it. First and foremost, talk to me about how this whole thing came about, and I'll let you start, Ray, because you're the old car guy here, and of course we'll jump over to Zach here, who's the new young whippersnapper in the room that's going to show us all how to sell cars online, right?
Well, Zach's the tech guy and understands tech and hell, he introduced me to YouTube, which I had no idea what it was.
Sure.
But after my wife passed away and I retired, he was convinced that I was going to suffer from cognitive decline. So he wanted to leverage my 43 years in the car business to help level the playing field for people trying to buy a car. Mm-hmm. And me being the fool that I am, I said, sure, let's do this. Sure.
So Zach, what motivated you to get your dad off the couch and back into working car deals, but now virtually? So what was the motivation behind that?
It's pretty deep, Jim, to be honest. So growing up, I didn't get to see my dad all that often because he the car business. And I remember my dad would leave in the morning. He'd say, okay, kids. He would refer to me, my sister, and my mom as kids. He'd say, I'm going to go work a half day.
Yeah.
And everyone in your audience knows a half day is a 12-hour day.
That's right.
And my dad, just like myself, doesn't have a college degree. And so he wanted to do whatever he could to provide for his family. And growing up, I didn't understand that. I actually really resented my dad. I was very much a mama's boy.
Yeah.
Like Dad mentioned, my mom passed 8 years ago. And when she passed away, my dad and I started to connect more deeply. We started to build a relationship. And I realized that my dad's a great person. My dad's an incredible person.
Sure.
The auto industry actually took advantage of his time in order to, in a lot of instances, take advantage of customers' time to try and hold more gross profit so that we could go on that family vacation to Lake Tahoe. And when I connected those dots, I got pretty angry.
Yeah.
I didn't get angry at the auto industry or my dad. I just got angry that the situation was what it was.
Right.
And so motivation for me is all about efficiency. And the angle that I've tried to take with CarEdge and the angle that I think my dad tried to take during his career was trying to be efficient, transparent, and authentic.
Sure.
And those are the values that we bring to CarEdge. It's all in service of just trying to sell more cars faster, and really level the playing field for everyone involved, the customer and the dealer.
Sure, sure. So talk to me about you guys started in 2019. How did that come about? Were you in another career and decided, hey, let's stop, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and go full time and build out this website and this media presence online?
So yeah, Dad, you were working at Audi at the time, I think, Audi Owings Mills.
And I had just retired. Yes.
You had just retired, and well, back in 2019, I don't even know, you hadn't retired in 2019. In 2019, you were working there, if I'm not mistaken, and I had just dropped out of college and had spent a few years working at a startup outside Washington, D.C., a tech startup, and realized that I wanted to do something different. And that's when, oh yeah, then you did retire, Dad, because I used to call you every night driving home from work for like 6 months because I was so frustrated at my other job at this startup. And eventually my dad one night, he said, okay, what can I do to help you? And I said, I want to help. I want to change the way people buy cars. So it was kind of like a passion project at first that then has really, morphed into a fairly successful company helping tens of thousands of people every month.
That is fantastic. Ray, did you have any apprehension about pulling the curtain back on the auto industry and saying, hey, here are the things you need to know about car buying, get more for your trade, get the best finance, work the best lease deal? You guys cover it all. You do a great job, by the way, but there is a huge pulling back of the curtain, right? To make it more transparent for consumers today.
I wasn't really afraid of that because even when I was running stores and I would have customers come in and they were trying to do things that I didn't think were in their best financial interest, I used to sit down and actually counsel people as to why this didn't make good financial sense for them to do it now. And I would say,
wow.
Listen, my job is to sell you a car.
Sure.
But ultimately, I want to be able to sell you many cars.
Right.
And if I take advantage of you being naive today,
right,
I'm only going to sell you this one car.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. So you will either take my advice and come back later when things make more financial sense and I can sell you a lot of cars,
right,
or I'll never see you again. But my hope is I do get to see you again and again and again.
You are a very unique individual in car sales in doing that. You're Zach, your father's got way too big a heart. And so because I will tell you, I sat in front of many buyers thinking the same thing in my heart of hearts. This is probably not the best move for this couple right now. They're trying to buy a house, they got a brand new baby, and they're driving out here in a $500 a month car payment, which was at a time, $500 was a lot of money on a car payment. But I never said anything. Of course, I always thought I might lose my job if in the event I spun that customer back around to, think more about it. But so here you are, you've got this idea, Zach, and obviously you've got a technology background because you said you were in a tech startup. But what you're about to embark on there's a lot of players in this field, right? With regard to Cars.com and Auto Trader and Car Gurus and such. So talk to me about that. Was that not intimidating to you?
I love intimidating things. I mean, you're talking to a guy who randomly signed up for an Ironman race. So I love intimidating things. I love big problems and big challenges. And I love ineffectiveness because that creates an opportunity. And so when I was looking at the landscape, Jim, a lot of this came from my dad's experience. I was asking him, when you would get a lead from, name the platform, what was your experience like? Yeah. And the more I dug in on that, the more I realized that those platforms aren't actually solving the problem. Customers who are shopping on those platforms find themselves getting bombarded by, different, BDC centers. Once they submitted a lead, they don't even know they submitted a lead.
That's right.
The dealership can't get them to close. The third-party lead close rates, depends on the brand, but we're talking like, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5%. So there's something broken in the online car shopping space. And so with CarEdge, we're incredibly proud. We offer a car buying service as well as a referral program to dealer partners. And the conversion rates when we bring a customer to a dealer are north of 30%. So we're doing something right. An educated customer is a customer who actually wants to purchase. And that's what we really put, at its core on the platform.
Sure.
And it comes from my dad's roots. And I want you to know, Jim, I was maybe 21, 22 when I realized that my dad was held back in his career, and maybe we could have had more material things or gone on a vacation every summer instead of every other summer, but he was held back in his career because of that, persona that he brings.
Sure.
And that's what we've been doing for the past 5 years at CarEdge. And we've scaled the business to over $10 million a year in revenue and 50 employees. Like we built something real, built off of my dad's foundation, and it could all break tomorrow and I'd still be proud because we've done something really beneficial for the industry.
That's great. That's great. I doubt it will break tomorrow. You guys are doing a great job. Let me ask you this for the dealers that are watching, because as you know, our audience here at CBT News is really like 95% the auto industry and predominantly managers and GMs and dealers and such. If they wanted to get involved or get their vehicles on your site, what is the next step for them to do? To reach out to you and say, hey, I'd like to be a partner?
Yeah, we have a partner form back on CarEdge.com.
Okay.
It's really interesting. We like to partner with groups that are very, forward thinking. And what I've realized in doing this work, Jim, is there are a lot of people that are forward thinking and are looking for a third party to validate the work that they are doing.
Right.
It's a few bad apples that rot in the bunch. And so we are looking to be that light for those dealers who want to be, on the cutting edge and be the rising tide for those folks who are, trying to sell more cars, be fair to their customers, and sell, to my dad's point, many cars many times over. So yeah, just back on the website, CarEdge.com, you can get in touch there. And this is what we do day in and day out. And it's all, again, in service of efficiency, transparency, authenticity. That's all I really want to bring to this industry.
Right, right. What do you think of your son getting into the car business, Ray? I know that when my kids would ask me, Dad, should I get into the car? I'd like, no, don't get into the car business. It is, Zach's right, it is long hours. There's a high turnover rate. I know I'm probably getting some dealers mad at me right now for mentioning these things, but it is what it is. And it hasn't changed all that much, over the course of the last 30, 40 years with regard to those qualities, right? So what did you think when he came up with this idea and said, let's go for it?
I thought I failed as a parent. I really did, because he saw all the hours I worked.
Sure.
He was well aware, and his sister was well aware of all the things that I missed that were going on in their lives, because I was so involved in the business.
So true.
And,
me too.
And the one thing I didn't want him to do was to be in the car business.
Yeah.
But he is naive enough to think that he can actually change it.
Right.
And he's proving that we can, that there's small incremental steps. And that's what it was at all the dealerships where I worked. There's no reason why a salesperson has to be at the store from open to close.
That's right.
There's really no reason for a manager to have to do that every day if you run your business efficiently.
That's right.
And so I tried to take baby steps at dealerships to change things, and Zach's trying to take, slightly bigger baby steps to change. I was changing a store at a time. He's trying to change the industry.
Yeah, and it needs to be changed in this area, because we're not going to be able to attract any talent if there's dealers out there that think. When I first came into the business, my manager, I said, well, what's the schedule? He walked me over to the front door and he said, we clearly printed your schedule right on the front door. That would be your schedule, okay? And for the first 5 years of my life in the car business, that was my schedule. So I can relate to those stories that you're talking about where you're missing, Little League and soccer games and all of that. And it's tough. It really is. And it takes its toll on the family. There's no question about it. So for dealers that are interested, they just got to go to the website, which is CarEdge.com, and hook on. How are you guys different than the other players out there? I mean, what are the big differentiating factors?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, and keep me honest, Dad, the biggest one is all the work we do to educate customers before they're ever connected to a dealer partner.
Okay.
That is the first and foremost thing that we do. I watched a lot of the horror stories of the past when it comes to companies who have tried to be that liaison between customers and dealers, and the horror stories on both the customer side and the dealer side. I got to learn that intimately as a consumer myself, and then obviously through my dad's experiences. And so the core principle, if a dealer were to work with CarEdge, is to understand these are going to be incredibly educated customers that want to transact quickly.
Right.
And that is the thesis behind this entire business. It's quite simple. It takes redefining the third-party lead space. I call it referrals. I don't think we've ever sold a lead at CarEdge. We refer people to our partners. And then we simply ask them to give them a fast lane to transact. And we've been able to prove that out tens of thousands of times over.
Right.
And I'd be very clear, Jim, I spent a couple years early on in building CarEdge thinking we were going to go sort of like the Amazon route. Like, I want to own the whole experience. I really want the dealership delivery center.
Sure.
Be explicit with your audience and explicit to everyone that ever sees this. I think that's a mistake. I think trying to make dealerships into a delivery center is a mistake. Dealerships are going to be around for decades to come.
Yeah.
How can we do the best thing that ever happened to the good ones, the ones that want to treat customers fairly, want to transact efficiently, and want to present themselves transparently? So that's what we're all about here. And quite frankly, I think we're going to force them, some of those incumbents in the competition to change how they operate, because there's such a groundswell of support for this type of approach.
That's right. If they don't buy you first, right? I mean, that they'll come knocking once you get to a certain number and you make life difficult on them. But let me ask you, there's a number of different. You go online and when you type in car advocate or help buying car, what have you. There's a number of other people out there that have got websites that will give you kind of the tips out there and the tricks of the trade, so to speak. Some have been in the business, some haven't. So at the end of the day, you guys are different because you actually have got the platform that follows through and says, not only are we going to give you the inside scoop and help you actually buy a car, but here's a platform and dealers that are on it that you can feel rest assured they're going to take good care of you when they go there, right?
I think that's a huge aspect of our differentiation, and I hate to be self-aggrandizing, but I think the other thing is you got me and my dad, and I don't think any other platform, any other competitor, anyone in this space has two people that have woken up every day for the past 5 years. And man, Dad, I'm thinking back to when I was sleeping on your couch back there when I quit that job. We started this company together, and we were on the phone 12 hours a day doing our own bell to bells. Like, we're two people that wake up every day, want to change this space, and I think that's a huge differentiation. And I'm grateful to see that there are lots of people trying to be innovative and advocate, because last time I checked, the auto industry is massive. We need everyone doing their part to try and influence change. And make sure that everyone can be at soccer practice.
That's right. Yeah, there's no question about it. Let me ask you, with the car companies out there that are the disruptors, such as Rivian and Tesla, and now Scout Motors, they're bypassing the franchise system to say, look, we're going to sell cars the way Tesla does, directly to consumers, and maybe take out some of that headache that a consumer goes through to get a car. What is your take on that? Do you think that is the future of the auto industry? Do you think that they're doing that to make it an easier process, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, no, I would say, Jim, we are firmly pro good dealer. So we think that dealers have a very, very play a very, very important role in the experience for consumers, especially when it comes to service and ownership. And so, we stand firmly behind the idea that good dealers are what should be in the marketplace to be able to transact and to be able to service their communities. And I think that's especially informed by, again, my dad's experience in the space. So yeah, I'd be surprised if we continue to see a push for as much electric vehicles. That's been obviously something that's been pushed very, very firmly, as well as this agency or direct to consumer sales model. I think we're going to see the pendulum swing back in the other direction.
What percentage of your customers are inquiring about EVs versus ICE vehicles?
Oh, it's very low. I mean, electric vehicles make up less than 5% of the people that we interact with day in and day out.
Okay.
Hybrid powertrain, people are very excited about that.
Okay. Yeah, that seems to be the bridge that will get us to an all EV environment one day. Have you heard from your friends, Ray, in the industry that go, what are you doing? You're killing my gross profit here. You're killing my back end. What's going on?
I'm not really trying to kill their gross profit or their back end. I'm just asking dealers to level the playing field, to be fair in how they transact with their customers.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be smoke and mirrors. It shouldn't be bait and switch.
Yeah.
There are dealers out there that are extremely successful that don't practice any of those policies. So it can be done. It is a choice that a dealer principal makes on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Do I want to treat my customers as I would want to be treated? Because I will say this: most people in the car business have big egos.
You think?
I'm pretty sure. And And if they, as when they were a customer, were treated the way they ask their staff to treat their customers, they would be the first ones to scream and say, "You can't treat me like this."
Yeah. Yeah.
But they run their businesses like that. So we need to convince them that they want to treat their customers the way they would really want to be treated.
That's right.
And if we can convince most of these dealer principals to look at it, perhaps we can get them to make incremental changes that'll make it better for everybody. A salesperson would be much more efficient if it took an hour to sell a car instead of, well, the first hour and a half is explaining why the advertised price isn't really the price that you can buy. So we could make it more efficient.
Right.
A salesperson could sell more cars.
And the customers would be happier.
Yeah, everybody would be. The manufacturer would be happier. Right. The customer would be happier. The staff would be happier. You would have less turnover. You've run dealerships. Right. You know what the turnover's like.
That's right. It's brutal.
Yes. And so there is a way to make it more efficient so it's better for everybody. And that's what we're trying to do. So if there's dealers out there that I've worked with and you hate me for that, I'm sorry. You're the one that needs the attitude adjustment, not me.
Something tells me they don't hate you, but they might be jealous of you because you figured out a better mousetrap and took it to market. So so kudos to you on that. Zach, I had a great discussion with a dealer just the other day on air. His complaint about third-party companies out there that are providing leads and information to consumers. These are companies like yours where dealers will sign up and get advertise their products and such. Is that those companies are not policing those dealerships in the sense that the dealer can put any kind of a price within reason on there, but then they find out, okay, that's where the consumer goes, and guess what? You got $1,000 doc fee. It didn't include destination. There's different programs on there that the customer doesn't qualify for in the way of rebates. A, do you do that? And B, what's your feeling about that?
So back on CarEdge.com, we have a huge community component to our platform. So, users can, similar to other websites, leave reviews and things along those lines, as well as submit fee structures on particular dealers so that, we know what a doc fee actually is at any given dealer. We're then working on the technology side for some machine learning aspects to be able to detect and identify things that seem like they're probably too good to be true, and then warn customers based on that community input, as well as anomalies that we might see in the data. I also want to be clear, I have empathy for the dealers that we work with, because you can fat finger a number pretty easily, and next thing you know, a car has 190,000 miles instead of 19,000. So I see it from both sides. That being said, we are advocating for and implementing things in our platform because I think it is incumbent upon third parties in the automotive space to bridge that gap of trust. Obviously, the FTC is not doing it. They do sparing, enforcements. I don't think we need the government to step in and try and be the answer here. So we're really advocating for that and working on that back at CarEdge.com. And I think the incumbents in the space have done a little bit, but not really enough. And now we're hearing more and more vocal parties on both sides. And that's obviously an opportunity for us to really differentiate ourselves and deliver a better experience.
One of the things I'm very impressed with is on the videos that you put on YouTube, you have very passionate followers that leave comments that are not like one sentence. They go on for paragraphs, one after another that I'm reading. It's like, wow, somebody really took the time to make a comment about the video that you're doing. Not one or two, but maybe 50. And you've got about 100,000 subs right now, right, on YouTube?
We've got 100,000 on the channel where we do a daily podcast, and we've got 615-ish thousand on our main channel. That's really our educational content.
Wow,
and
that's
then
great.
Another 300 or so thousand on TikTok. Yeah, I mean, it's my dad and I get stopped in public, not infrequently. It's
I'm sure. Yeah,
experience, to be honest, Joe.
That's right. Well, you're fun to watch. Your dad is obviously, got the knowledge of the industry. You bring the younger approach to it, and certainly I think a lot of people get a lot out of the fact that your father and son, you're working together on this. Everyone can relate to that. And recently, talk to me about the mention that you just had on the Today Show. That was pretty big.
I mean, that was a pinch me. I got some feedback from my COO recently, Jim, that was like, hey, get out of the weeds on some meetings. So I was out for a run that morning. I got back to my phone. The teams called me 15, 20 times. We thought our website was being hacked because there was a spike in traffic. We had no clue what was going on. And yeah, we were mentioned on the Today Show
That's
as
fantastic.
the best resource to get pricing and to shop for a car. And I mean, I've never spoken to anyone over at the Today Show, so that happened incredibly, or entirely organically,
Yeah.
which I think is a testament, Dad, to the work that we've done.
Yeah. 10 years from now, where is CarEdge, Zach?
Oh man, 10 years from now, I really hope that we can have deep inroads at the tier one level because I think there are a lot of challenges at the tier one level. I
Yeah.
get on meetings, Jim, and I think a lot of the scrutiny is put on the dealers. And again, for good reason. There's a reason car salesperson is the second only in front of congressperson on the Gallup annual trustworthiness of profession poll. Like, there's a lot of scrutiny on the dealer. I think in the next decade, we need to do a lot of work at the OEM level. They are punch drunk on leads. They are punch drunk on volume. We see that manifest itself in a lot of the behaviors at the OEM level, and they influence a lot of that relationship, obviously, with their partners, the dealers. So I hope that not only can we differentiate experiences for dealers and really expand our presence there, I hope that we can expand and continue to expand our influence with the domestics, the European brands, the Japanese brands, and show them that there is a different way to transact through your incredible infrastructure, your incredible dealer network. So,
Yeah. That's
CarEdge is
fantastic.
public at that point, but the point is we're gonna try and go deep, and we're gonna try and really make some change here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Ray, I'll give you the last word. What do you want dealers, our dealer audience, to know about CarEdge and the work that you're doing?
Well, we're not here to fight you. We're here to work with you, to help educate you, to help educate your customers, to make the entire process so much more efficient for everyone concerned. So don't be afraid of us. We just want to make everything better for everyone.
Zach and Ray, co-founders of CarEdge, thank you so much for joining me on CBT News. I very much appreciate it. I know our dealers get a lot out of it. They've spoken to me actually about your platform and your company and said, you got to get these guys on there. So we appreciate it very much, and best of luck to you in the future.